Hey everybody, how you doing? Joe McCall, Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. I'm glad you're here. I just wanted to do a quick little video here introducing you to what I'm going to be playing next. It's the webinar that I did last week. And I'm super excited about this because this is a brand new 6 to 8 week case study that I'm doing specifically on sandwich lease options. And what I'm going to be talking about is how you can gross over $1 million in equity and $10,000 in cash flow in 3 years or less doing just one lease option deal a month. So this is going to be cool. Now, the extra cool thing is I'm releasing a brand new lease options software that scrapes Craigslist for you, gives you phone numbers, and you can send and receive text messages and send and receive emails. It creates lease option offers for you and can send a credibility kit for you and does the initial contract that I like to use. So, on this webinar that I played last week, I'm going to play it for you right now. I just wanted to give you a heads up. But this is really important because on the webinar, I was closing the doors to everybody who's on my email list, and I closed the doors last week. If you're watching this podcast right now, I'm going to be, I extended the closed door, open time, whatever, another week for you guys because I just realized the other day that I never even talked about this to my podcast audience. So unless you were on my email list, you didn't even know about this, okay? So I am extending the open doors just for one more week. And when you go to the end of the webinar, I'm going to be giving you a page at the end of this webinar that is actually closed, okay? So this page that I'm giving you at the end is going to be closed. Ignore that. Go to this website right now. Are you ready? leaseoptioncasestudy.com/podcast. leaseoptioncasestudy.com/podcast. And that's where you need to go to get the extended open date. Does that make sense? If you go to the URL that is in the webinar that I'm going to be playing here next for you, that it'll say closed, we're shut down, etc., etc. I think. If my technologies guy has got it all set up right, that's what it should say. So you're going to learn a lot on this webinar, even if you decide you don't want to work with me in this case study, even if you decide you don't like the software, you don't want it. Check out this webinar. You're going to learn some cool things about it. Learn about how you can create $1 million in equity, over $10,000 in monthly cash flow in 3 months or less, just doing one lease option deal a month. This is all brand new training. The software is all brand new. Scrapes Craigslist, creates offers, emails and sends texts back and forth to sellers. It's amazing. It's awesome. And I built this specifically for my business, and I'm giving the software away for free. So watch this webinar, pay attention to it. And if you're interested, go right now to leaseoptioncasestudy.com/podcast. leaseoptioncasestudy.com/podcast. Is that clear? All right, guys, I appreciate you all. See ya.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is Joe McCall, and this is the Lease Option Case Study webinar. And I got a lot to go over, a lot of slides, so I'm going to jump right in and go through it now. Okay, so who is this guy? Joe, that's me. I work with beginning real estate investors to help them build long-term wealth and short-term cash flow using lease options from anywhere in the world. And we're going to be talking about that. And specifically in this webinar, I'm going to give you a concrete plan to how to use this unique deal structure to make $1 million in equity and $10,000 in monthly cash flow in 3 years or less without using any of your own money or credit. I'll say that 100 times. So I've been doing full-time lease options since 2009. I've traveled around the world with my family of 6, literally, for months at a time. I have a podcast with millions of downloads called the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast, and I've coached thousands of people all over the world to do what I do. It's a lot of fun. And of course, you have to have the obligatory pictures of the kids, which I always enjoy showing my kids off. My kids are awesome. Even if they weren't so good looking, they're amazing, incredible kids. And we've adopted all 4 of our kids. Long story, but my wife and I could not have children biologically. And so we chose to adopt. And I am the most blessed dad and husband in the entire world. And I feel like crying right now because I miss them. I'm in Florida actually right now. And but anyway, I'm at a workshop. So here's my promise. Using what I teach, you can quit your job in 3 months, and in 3 years, you can have over $1 million in equity and $10,000 in monthly passive cash flow using the most powerful and simplest strategy in real estate, lease options. Okay, now you can do this. You really can. If you can decide today to take bold, massive action. So this webinar is going to be different. If you're like most people, you want to find freedom and financial independence in real estate, this is probably not the first presentation that you've ever seen about how to do that. And if you're like most people, you found much of what you've seen disappointing. But this webinar is going to be different. First, there will be no high pressure pitch at the end. I'm going to share some cool things with you to give you an opportunity to work. And then after I share some cool things with you, I'm going to give you an opportunity to work closely with me. And if you want help, great. But if not, no big deal. You're going to learn some cool things. Second, this webinar is specifically for the beginning investor who is thinking about how to find deals in this highly competitive market without spending thousands of dollars on marketing, and how to find cash flow deals without using their own money and without bank loans and private money. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Now, why is this important to you now? Well, most of what you've learned in the past is dead wrong. The market is super competitive right now. It's hard to find deals. Most investors are spending way too much money on marketing and throwing away too many leads that don't have equity because they don't know what to do with them. It's getting harder and harder and more expensive to find cash flowing rentals, and most cash flowing rentals are 50 grand to 100 grand, and they're dumps in crappy neighborhoods with really low return on investments and cash on cash returns. That's what CCR stands for. And if you have them, you're probably dealing with the worst tenant problems. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So learning how to do lease options is the key to consistent deals and cash flow and gaining financial independence in real estate today. So our outline today on this webinar, I'm going to give you the simple steps to doing lease option deals, which includes marketing, how to get more seller leads than you can handle for free from these two sources I'm going to show you. Number three, talking to sellers and making offers. I'm going to show you how to get properties under contract without negotiating and giving sellers completely fair offers. And then I'm going to show you how to get buyers. So how to fill your lease options lightning fast without a buyer's list with a simple checklist. You ready? I'm going to show you how you can work closely with me on an upcoming live case study that starts in less than a week, which is going to fill up. So if you're interested in diving more deeply into this, you've got to pay attention, stick around. And by the way, my plan is to be done in an hour, so I'm going to hustle. This webinar is not for you if you're looking for get-rich-quick schemes, if you think there's some magic push button that can make money fall from the sky, and it's not for you if you don't like to work. You want to treat investing, if this is not for you if you want to treat investing like a hobby, not like a business, all right? And it's not for you if you like to make excuses and blame others for your problems. Okay. Now, let me tell you, too, that these results are nowhere near typical. The numbers I give of me, my students, they're real, but most people fail in this business. Most people who buy any how to make money training will never make any money whatsoever. That's just the plain hard truth. So here's some house rules. If we're going to work together, you must agree to listen and pay attention, notes, ask questions, be willing to invest in yourself and your future, and you've got to be willing to push through your comfort zone. You've got to commit yourself to never let self-doubt stop you from getting what you really want. Cool? Can you agree to those rules? Let's do it. So the answer is yes, you can really make $1 million and 10 grand in equity. 10 grand in monthly cash flow in 3 years or less, but you have to know how to do it right. So let's talk about what a lease option is. If I were to ask you, I would suspect probably 50–75% of you maybe vaguely know what a lease option is, but not really. So a lease option is basically a lease with the option to buy a very valuable piece of real estate. Typically, you have two contracts. You have a lease and then an option. You will rent the property for a period of time and then have an option to buy the house at the end of that time. So during that period, you typically sublease it to someone else, a tenant buyer, who is going to make. So basically, you control a property without owning it. You get all the benefits of owning rental property without the obligations. In other words, without actually getting a mortgage and having to pay a loan payment to a bank. Does that make sense? Now let's talk about win-win-win. It's important when you're doing lease options that everybody wins, and I always start my webinars on this about this because it's important that the seller wins, the buyers win, and you win. Everybody has to win. So sometimes sellers, maybe they're having a hard time selling their house. They don't have enough equity. They might be upside down even. And yes, there are still sellers today upside down. Maybe they don't want to manage the property. They don't want landlord headaches. They now, if they do a lease option, they get to rent their house to somebody who wants to buy it. And they get to walk away generally with more money than if they were to sell it today. Now the buyers win because they can try out a house. They get to lock in a great price. And by the way, if prices fall, let's say terrorist attack happens and values plummet, well, good news. They don't have to buy it, right? They can walk away from the option. So it's a great win for the buyers. It gives them time to rebuild their credit, and they don't have to rent a property and then fix their credit and then move when they're ready to buy a house, which is really nice. A lot of people are in that boat. And sometimes lease options, you can get monthly rent credits. Now, how does the investor win? I'm glad you asked. You can control a property without owning it. You get cash now, cash flow, and cash later. We'll talk more about that. This business is simple, has low overhead, there's very little risk, if any, on these deals. You don't deal with typical management headaches, and there's a high demand for these houses. Now, let me tell you a little story of how I discovered lease options real quick. I was an accidental landlord once. Well, I had an engineering job with a company in Kansas City. They transferred me out to California. We just bought our house like 6 months earlier. We decided to rent it out. Well, it was a disaster. We had horrible tenants. Property management was crazy. The rent was always late, right? And so I had struggled to pay the mortgage every month. They were constantly calling me to fix stupid little things. I was tired of paying plumbers $65 an hour to fix something that I could do in like 5 minutes for a few bucks, right? So I completely lost control, and it was very frustrating. And I said I would never rent another property again. But shortly after that, a friend recommended a book about property management, and one of the chapters in the book talked about lease options. It was a $7 book. And I discovered that, man, you know what? You can have a rental property without the typical landlord headaches if you do it. So I'm buying a bunch of properties with bank loans. Then in the days when it was, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a bank loan for investment property. So I started buying as many as I could. I had about 12 or so. And I was putting tenant buyers in them and trying to sell them on lease options. But I bought them all wrong. I was ignoring the fundamentals. I was counting on appreciation. And I had lots and lots of debts. So I was not buying these properties right. I should not have been able to get mortgages on them. And the tenant buyers were not buying these homes because the market crashed. Well, now I had a serious cash flow problem. Just to make a short story long, is that the wrong? Make a long story short. I lost some properties to foreclosure and short sales, got behind on our own mortgage, lost our personal residence to a short sale, started getting really desperate on these properties that I had. I started letting bad tenants in. It went from bad to worse. And you know what that was like, man. If you had any of these, the deals went bad. I couldn't get out of them unless I did a short sale and foreclosure. And there were so many nights when I would go to bed late, stressing out about how I was going to pay the bills, waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning in a cold sweat, a knot in my stomach because I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills and get our debt collectors to stop calling me, and it was just a disaster. So I knew I never wanted to own another property again. So what I mean by that was like own another deed, because these houses, I couldn't get away from them, right? Like the bank, they want to get paid. They don't care if the house is vacant or not. The bank didn't care if the house was the economy was in a huge recession. Well, I discovered that why I love lease options so much, because with a lease option, if the deal does go bad, we have clauses in our lease option contracts where we can get out of it, which is amazing. So I went back to the basics again, and I started wholesaling, right? I just started regular wholesaling. I bought one more guy's course, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to do what this guy says to do. And it started working. I started doing regular wholesaling, started making a lot of money just wholesaling. But I started doing deals, but I got really frustrated because I was spending too much money on marketing. I was throwing away a ton of leads, and it started to get more and more competitive. And I got tired of negotiating with bottom of the barrel motivated sellers. I had to go out to their house in the middle of the hood, trying to beat them down to pennies on the dollar. I was really had to be careful with my after repair values and my comps, and I got really frustrated. And I didn't like to go see the houses, so I tried to negotiate them over the phone, and that didn't work. And I thought, you know what? I remember lease options; they were really easy. What if I got these properties under contract to lease option and then just flipped the contract to a tenant buyer? What if I wholesale lease options and started asking myself bigger and better questions? And right about this time, I wanted to start traveling. I wanted a lifestyle business job. So I started writing everything down that's involved with these deals, and I asked myself a simple question: how can I do none of this? How can I get someone else to do all this stuff for me? And I started flipping lease options, and I realized it's way easier to do lease option deals. I don't have to spend any money on marketing. I can negotiate these deals over the phone in any market in the United States. And this is key. Pay attention. You are more likely to find motivated sellers with little to no equity than motivated sellers with lots of equity. Think about that for a minute. If you've been doing any kind of marketing, if you've been in the business for a while, you know how competitive it is for these leads that have a lot of equity in them. That every other wholesaler and investor in the world is going after. Well, there are more motivated sellers out there with little to no equity than there are motivated sellers with lots of equity. But everybody is going after the sellers with lots of equity. What if you could do something with those leads that everyone else is throwing away? That's what we're going to talk about. So in 3 months, quit my job when I started doing this, and I figured out the importance of marketing, and that I started creating systems and stuff. And you see that picture there, the secretary at the job site I was working on made those cupcakes for me and the team. And guess which one is me? Guess which cupcake is me? Isn't that funny? I think so. All right. Now, started traveling. Actually, my wife and our kids, we started going for months at a time to Europe. We've been to Prague 4 times. We've been there twice for 2 to 3 months. And we bought this huge camper, and we started traveling around the northwestern corner of the U.S. for months at a time and started doing deals while traveling, which is pretty amazing. We're going to be doing it again real soon here. So my key lessons learned during this process, I learned about the importance of keeping it simple. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Model what works and do it, and keep on making offers. Now, write this down. This is a writer-downer. Your speed to success, guys, in this business is directly proportional to the number of offers that you make. And I learned the importance of that, and I learned to start getting other people to make offers for me, building systems to make offers for me. So here's a few people I've helped real quick. This is Andrew, super cool guy out of Arizona. He recently acquired 2 lease option deals, and he turned them into Airbnbs. And this picture of this house is one of them. One of them has about $70,000 in equity. And get this, guys, he's making about $3,000 a month in net cash flow on that property. And so far, he has about 6 of them. 2 of them were acquired with lease options, but he has about $43,000 in the books for revenue this year so far, and it's almost April, so first 3 months of the year, he's got $43,000 in revenue, which is crazy awesome. So you could take the strategies that I teach with lease options and turn them into Airbnbs and do really, really well with them. George Stevenson is a student. He did $800 a month in his first 2 deals in cash flow, okay, monthly cash flow. He says, Joe, I just wanted to tell you that I got another $300,000 house to lease option under contract. It's the second one this month. Both of them are sandwich lease options, probably about $10,000 option fees and $800 in monthly cash flows. And this came from one simple idea you gave me during our conversation. I love it, right? So I got stories like that all over the place. So let's talk about the simple steps of doing lease option deals. Number 1, you market for motivated sellers. Number 2, you talk to sellers, make offers. Number 3, you get a house under contract. The A to B, and I'm going to talk about the A to B, B to C, and you'll kind of get what that means here. Then I'm going to advertise a house for a contract, B to C. Now, A to B, the A is the seller, the B is the investor, and the C is the tenant buyer. So you have first the contract with the seller, that's A to B, and then you contract with the tenant buyer, that's B to C, and you're staying in the middle. While during that time, you're managing the property, and you double close, and there's different ways to do this, but you basically buy the house when your tenant buyer is ready to buy, and you turn around and immediately sell it to the tenant buyer, and you make the difference in the spread at the end. I often sometimes I make a joke here about big butts. You want big back-end equity, right? So the bigger your back-end equity is, the bigger your profit is. So I like big butts. Yeah, sorry, stupid joke. Please, Lisa, erase this from the recordings or whatever. Okay, minimum requirements on these deals. You want at least 10% equity, maybe 15% depending on the market. You want 25% of the rent in cash flow, approximately. You want at least 3 to 5 years, and you want your average cash flow to be about $300 a month, and your average profit to be about 30 grand. Got that? Those are minimum requirements on these lease option deals. Now remember, you're staying in the middle. This is an investment property. You can pass on the responsibilities for minor maintenance and repairs to the tenant buyer. And because we are only dealing with nice homes that are in good neighborhoods, they are newer homes, right? They don't need much maintenance, if any, which is really awesome. So let's look at a typical house, okay? Let's say the median price home is $200,000. Now I know inevitably there's some of you listening that are in California. You're going to write some comments and questions about, well, what about California? Our typical average home is like 600,000. I get it. So just triple the numbers. It still works. It still works in California. And even if you live in California, let's say you live in San Jose where a one-bedroom outhouse is $2 million. Well, you don't have to do deals there. You can do lease options in Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Idaho, anywhere you want, up in Washington and Oregon. So you don't have to do them in your backyard. Now, let's say the seller has about 10% equity, about 180 grand. Well, guess what? Sometimes life happens. They get a job transfer, job loss. They don't want to be landlords. They're tired of the 2 payments, but the payments are $1,250 a month and it rents for about $1,600. They don't want to be landlords, right? And it needs about $5 grand in work to get it ready to sell on the market, just with some minor updates. If they were to sell this, fix it up, sell it with a realtor, they might break even. They'll probably have to come to closing with a little bit of money. So if they sell with a realtor, they really have zero equity. And I contact them. I say, hey, maybe I can lease your house from you. I'll be your tenant. And I'll talk about that later. So my offer to them, they say, well, first I say to them, well, what are you going to do if you can't sell this house? Are you going to rent it out? I say, yeah, probably don't want to, but I don't know what else we can do. I say, well, you know what? I'm looking for a home that I can lease for a little while and then buy. Would that work for you or probably not? I might say something like, what if I could lease your property and I'll take care of all the maintenance and vacancies? What would you want to do then? Well, that sounds great. All right. Well, how long would you like me to make your payments and take care of your house for you? Forever. Okay. Well, let's talk. Maybe I, go from there, right? So here is kind of my offer, the way it works. So my contract with the seller, they owe 180. I'm going to give them a contract to buy it for 180, and I'm going to rent it from them for $1,250 a month. But you know what? I'm taking care of all the maintenance and repairs, and I'm going to take care of all the vacancies. So they don't have to worry about any of that. Pretty sweet deal, isn't it? And after 3 or 4 or 5 years, they're going to have more equity in it. They get to keep the tax benefits of owning that rental property. And they've already moved. They've already bought another house. So I'm just going to take care of it for them. This is the same equity they'd get if they sold with a realtor, and it's the same net rent that they would get if they managed the property with a property manager. All right. And I'm going to give them 3 years, and I'm going to put $1,000 down. But by the way, that $1,000 doesn't come from me. It comes from the money I get from the tenant buyer. So it's not even really any money out of my pocket. I'm going to turn around and advertise that house. I'm going to mark it up a little bit for 220 grand. But notice, remember, it needed $5 grand in work. I'm not going to do the work. I'm going to find a tenant buyer that will fix it up. And I'll give that tenant buyer a $5,000 credit if and when they buy the house in 2 or 3 years and they fix it up. And I'm also going to rent it out for $1,550. Now the market rents are $1,600, but I want to undercut it a little bit so filled it faster. Now I'm going to do 3 years with the tenant buyer. Now this is a really sweet deal, and I have 5 years with the seller. I might do 5 years with the tenant buyer, but I'm going to get at least 3.5% down, so I'm going to get $7,700. Okay. Now what is my profit on this deal? Well, after the $5,000 credit, I'm going to have a big back end of $35,000, right? My cash flow of $3,000 a month, 36 months is $10,800 for a total profit of about $45,800. Now that's before closing costs and any miscellaneous expenses, but that's pretty good, isn't it? And how much money did I put into this deal? None. I'm going to show you how you don't even have to spend any money on marketing to get this kind of a deal. Now, this money the tenant buyer puts down up front, this $7,700, guess what? It is non-refundable. So if this tenant buyer doesn't buy the house, they don't get that money back. Now, what am I going to do with that money? I'm going to sit on it and hold it and put it in a savings account. Because if something goes bad, if this house goes vacant, or if there's something that I need to fix for whatever reason, I'm going to have some money set aside so it's not going to stress me out. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I'll take care of any vacancies or something like that. And if the tenant buyer doesn't buy the house, they move on, they move out, or I have to evict them, which rarely ever happens, well, then I got some money to cover me while I'm making the mortgage payment here. And I have some time, I'll just find another tenant buyer. So this is a great deal. Everybody wins, right? The seller gets the same equity they would get if they sold with a realtor. They get the same rent that they would get if they rented with a property manager. And guess what? Does a property manager guarantee rents or take care of maintenance and repairs? No. And then the tenant buyer wins. They get a great house, a great price, and they get some more equity credit. And it gives them time to rebuild their credit. And then I win because I make $45,000. And, well, included with that is $300 a month in cash flow. Now, what if you did one of those deals a month? They're not that hard to find. So remember, I didn't spend any money to find the deal or to get the deal. The tenant buyer did the work to fix the house up. I got that $6,000 non-refundable option consideration to save in case something comes up. And the tenant buyer is responsible for all the day-to-day maintenance and repairs under $500, and the seller is still responsible for all the major repairs. That's the way I set up my original contracts, okay? Here's one of my students, Adam. This guy rocks. I love him. He's done 8 deals from the Portland to Oregon area. 100% of his tenant buyers have purchased his homes. Isn't that awesome? Some people say, oh, it doesn't work. I heard most tenant buyers don't buy houses. BS, not the way we do it. So all of his deals came from Craigslist. He didn't spend any money on marketing. Larry and Mariska are some good friends of mine in the Seattle area. They just did a sandwich lease option deal. This check's only a few months old. They made $32,800 back-end profit on this deal, closing it as a sandwich lease option. Larry and Mariska are awesome. If you're in the Seattle area, check them out. They have a RIA out there. So here's a simple formula, right? For $1 million in equity and $10,000 in monthly cash flow in 3 years. So if your average equity on a deal is $30,000 and you do one of them a month, that's $1 million over 3 years. And if your average cash flow is $300 over 36 months, that's $10,000, $800 a month in monthly cash flow, doing just one deal a month in 3 years. Now, you're going to have some deals that are less and some deals that are more, okay? What if you don't do a deal 1 month and 1 month you do 2 deals? So the idea is it takes some time, but you just steady Eddie, you do the marketing, make a lot of offers, it works. So what happens when you stop wholesaling? Some of you are wholesaling and you make good money with that, but you know what happens when you stop? Well, you stop making money. And how can you make money without working so hard? How are you going to start getting cash flow? Well, you can go out and buy a bunch of crappy rental properties in Kansas City, Missouri. I can say that because I used to live there. Or in the north side of St. Louis, or in the hood in Indianapolis, right? But are you going to go out and start buying rental properties with your profits? You could, but how much cash are you going to need to do that, right? Plus, do you really want to buy those crappy rentals, or would you rather buy some nice rentals? I'd rather buy the nice rentals, but I don't want to spend $150,000 to $250,000 to buy these nice rentals, and I don't want to go out and get another home mortgage, a loan, to buy these. I would rather use what's called what? OPM, other people's money, right? Amen. Well, what happens if the deal doesn't have any equity at all? Real quick, I have this course called Wholesaling Lease Options. I've been doing this for years. You can flip these deals as wholesaling lease option deals. You can flip it to a tenant buyer. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can do both, wholesaling or lease options, right? Now, let's talk about marketing. How do you get more seller leads than you can handle for free from these 2 sources? Well, remember this. Number 1, you're not in the real estate business. You are in the marketing business. This is the most important thing I teach is marketing, okay? Everything is marketing, and marketing is everything. So if you're not doing this right, this is what happens. You're spending way too much money on wasted leads. You're throwing them away with leads from unmotivated sellers. You're sending marketing to the same leads that everyone else in your market is sending marketing to. You're throwing away tons of leads that have no equity or desire to sell their house at a huge discount, right? You're spending way too much time scraping and texting these leads yourself, not enough time talking to sellers. But if you are doing this right, you're hardly spending any money on marketing. Your cost per lead, your cost per deal goes drastically down. You're only targeting nice homes in nice areas with a lot less headaches. And you can cherry pick the best ones for your own cash flow deals. And you only need to do one a month to get over $1 million in equity and $10,000 in monthly cash flow in 3 years. Do you think you could retire with that? Yeah. Now let's talk about Craigslist. Craigslist is one of my favorite sources of leads. And what I'm talking about is going and finding landlords and for sale by owners and sending them messages and emails. I'm not talking about posting ads in Craigslist. I'm talking about finding the landlords and sending them marketing, reaching out to them, and finding the ones that raise their hands and say, I'm interested. So I send them a text, something like, hey, I saw your house on XYZ Street, or I saw your house in North County, whatever. Is it still available? Are you the owner? By the way, my virtual assistants send these texts for me, right? So I don't see any of this until the seller raises their hand and it's somebody that I want to talk to. If they say, yeah, the house is still available, yes, I'm the owner. And if they say something positive to this question, you wouldn't consider renting it for a year and then selling it, would you? If they say, yeah, maybe, I don't know, depends which house, go ahead and make an offer. Do you want to see it first or something like that? Then I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. So you can mix those text messages up. So there's Craigslist is amazing, but one of the things you got to watch out for are the CAPTCHAs. Have you ever seen these CAPTCHAs? These stinking things. It takes a ton of time to get around them. You start going into Craigslist and start scraping phone numbers. If you do this yourself, it is maddening because you're going to have to verify that you're a real person and not some robot. And you've seen these before where if you have to like pick the squares with signs, like you pick that one, that one, that one, that one. But is that a sign right there? You're going to click that. Well, okay, you can get a VA to do this, but if your VA is doing this with every time they open up a Craigslist ad, it's insane. It's hard to get around Craigslist. They don't like people going in there and getting stuff from them, right? So they look at your IP address. So you got to change your IP address on your computer. So you can't do it yourself. You got to find a VA to do it, but you got to find a VA that knows how to get around all those restrictions and knows how to change their IP address, etc. Once you start scraping these numbers, you need to make sure you're removing duplicates as well. So you're not having your system send 5 text messages a day to the same person. Does that make sense? So Craigslist is awesome, but you got to know how to do it right, and you got to know how to get around those CAPTCHAs. My other favorite source of marketing are other wholesalers' dead leads. You can make great money on leads that the big guys are throwing away. I'm talking about the big guys that are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing in your market right now. So get other investors to bring you their dead leads, turn their trash into gold. Think about it. How many leads do traditional wholesalers throw away because the seller doesn't have enough equity or motivation? Or if there is any equity, the seller is not willing even at all in the slightest to drop their price by 20 to 30 to 40%, right? Or if the seller really does want to sell, they can't. Maybe they don't want to be a landlord, but there's nothing the wholesaler can do. So the wholesaler puts that lead in the wood pile and it just sits there and rots. But there's some motivation there, right? Maybe you could turn that into a lease option and maybe give a referral fee to these wholesalers. Offer to pay the wholesaler a fee, $500, $1,000, half the deal. I don't know, just to get started. My business partner who helps me in the coaching business, his name is Gavin. This is how he got started in the business. He was in Phoenix and he had no money for marketing. He just went to the local RIAs for a couple months, actually a couple weeks, just went to the local RIAs. There's so many of them there. And he started standing up and saying, when it came time to like, what do you need or what do you have or whatever, and saying, hey, listen, I don't have any money for marketing, but I have time and I'm good on the phone. If anybody has old dead leads, if you give them to me, I'll follow up and call them for you. And if I do a deal, we'll split it or something like that. So he had 3 people come up to him, gave him 100 leads or something. And within a couple weeks, he had 3 deals under contract just by calling and talking to other wholesalers' leads. And then eventually, within a few weeks, one of these wholesalers that had a bunch of leads wanted to bring him on their team to be the one to handle the leads and stuff. And they begged him, and he said, now I can do this. I don't need you, thanks. So it's an amazing story. I love it. I love it when he tells it. He tells it way better than I do. But think about this. Look at the numbers. If a wholesaler typically needs about 40 leads per deal, 39 of those leads are not going to be any good right now, right? So let's say they're doing an average of 2 deals a month. That means they're throwing away 78 leads. Let's just say 10% of those are maybe potential lease option deals. They're nice homes in nice areas. That's about 8 leads a month, right? Let's say you convert about 25% of them into lease option deals. That's 2 potential lease option deals a month from just one wholesaler. Well, what if you had 2 wholesalers in a market? Or what if you were in 2 or 3 markets? How many leads could you be getting from other wholesalers? Oh, it's amazing. I travel and I speak a lot around the country, and I ask a lot of these wholesalers, what do you do with your dead leads? The leads that don't have any equity? Well, nothing. Well, have you ever thought about doing a lease option with them? I mean, it's amazing how people don't think of this. So bottom line, you don't need to spend any money on marketing when you're starting out. And you can get all the leads you need in multiple markets by turning other wholesalers' trash into cash and contacting landlords and sellers in Craigslist and Zillow. And how much does that cost? Nothing. So marketing is really, really important. Recently, I was in Tampa at doing a webinar, I think it was. But I was in Tampa for a mastermind, and I was doing a webinar. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to prove to folks on this webinar that this stuff really works, and I'm going to get my VA to do some marketing for me. So I had my assistant go into Tampa into Craigslist. I had them start looking for houses like this. I had them start sending texts and emails, and this is what happened. Started sending texts, and we got responses like this. Yes, please call. We can rent it, but you have an opportunity to buy it in a year. Which house are you talking about? So at the end of the day, this is amazing. This blows me away. In less than 2 hours, in 105 minutes, like I made her track all her numbers. She sent out 39 text messages that said something like, you wouldn't consider a lease purchase, would you? We had 22 responses. By the way, when you do direct mail, what percent response rate do you get with direct mail? Maybe, if you're really good, 1%. I don't know what 22 divided by 39 is, but that's a lot more than 1%. I had 6 no's, 7 yeses, and 9 maybes. Can you believe that? I had 16 yeses or maybes. It took my virtual assistant less than 2 hours to send those 39 texts, and I got 16 yeses or maybes. Isn't that amazing? That's just one market. What if I had a team of VAs? What if I had software that just did this in like 3 or 4 different markets every day? I'm telling you what will happen. You'll get overwhelmed with leads. It's a good problem to have. And this is in a hot market, right? Tampa's crazy hot right now. Things are going up. I hear people all the time tell me in these hot markets, it doesn't work. I can't get any leads. I can't, it's too hard. I just chuckle. I say, okay, whatever. You don't get it, do you? Now, let me tell you one more big key. If you're doing Craigslist and Zillow, please don't be afraid to go into multiple markets around your state, or just pick a new market every couple weeks. Don't ignore the small towns. I'm going to tell you in a minute about Kathy's amazing story. But you can do deals. All the investors, they're ignoring these little markets. And there's incredible opportunity there because there's still a huge demand for homes there. Let's talk about direct mail real quick. There's a list that no one is mailing to. Do you want to know what it is? I love this list. And you may think I'm crazy, but it's a list of sellers with little to no equity. And how do you find a seller with little to no equity? Well, you find people who bought with FHA or VA loans because they require little to 3% down, nothing to 3%. And they bought it in the last 2 to 7 years. Why is that? Because most people move every 4 to 5 years. Now, also don't ignore expired listings. Those work really good for lease options, and rentals on Zillow. I mail the owners of the owners who have rentals on Zillow. Now, if you go to ListSource real quick, you can go to loan type. A lot of people don't know this, but you can go to loan type and you can say, show me all the FHA and VA loans who bought in the last 2 to 7 years. And this is one of my counties, and there's 7,000. This is a fantastic list to mail to because most of these folks do not have any equity, or they don't have enough. And these are nicer homes because FHA and VA only lend on nicer homes. Okay? Now let's talk about talking to sellers and making simple offers. If you're not doing this right, you don't know what to say, you only have one offer to sellers, and that's cash. You feel like you have no credibility, and I've never done the lease option deal before. I have no idea what to say. You stumble through your words, you're nervous, you're driving around town looking at homes in the hood, dealing with unmotivated sellers, or you're dealing with bottom of the barrel motivated sellers that you don't want to work with. You have to try to negotiate huge, unrealistic discounts, and usually your offers are way off and no one will even ever accept them. You have to be worried about comps and repairs. But if you do get this right, you're only doing deals in markets since you're doing deals in markets all over the country, all over the phone, you can do them from a laptop on the beach. All you need is a phone, right? And a computer. You have built-in credibility and confidence. You know what to say. You're the one who's asking the questions. Your system is just creating and sending the offers for you. You don't have to really think. By the way, I'm going to show you how your 9-year-old can send the marketing and send the offers for you, or your virtual assistant. And your system is reminding you of the follow-up, and you're keeping it super simple. Now, how do you get properties under contract without all this crazy negotiating while giving sellers completely fair offers? And what about credibility? When you've never done a lease option before, right? We'll talk about that. The key is asking simple questions. Questions like this. Tell me about your house. What's your situation? By the way, when it comes to asking questions, you're the one asking the questions, right? You need to be the reluctant buyer. Write that word down. Reluctant buyer. You need to be the reluctant buyer. You know, if you get a seller that calls you, say, hey, thanks for calling. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about your house? To see even be something I would be interested in. So many beginning investors put themselves in some kind of subservient attitude where they're really, really concerned with the outcome. And they struggle all the time doing deals because they're practically begging. You don't want to be the motivated buyer, okay? You're not the motivated buyer. You just make an offer. You try to see if there's something that you can do. If not, that's fine. So I am the one asking the questions, okay? In fact, when they bring up a question or an objection, I say, that's a great question. Why do you ask? I'm always turning it around. I'm the one asking the questions. And I'm not tied to the outcome. So it's okay if they say no. Write that thing down too. It's okay if the sellers say no. So what's your situation? What would you like to see happen? How quickly would you like to sell this house? Sounds like a nice house. Why would you even want to sell it? Or something like, why haven't you sold it yet? I'm sure you've got it listed with a realtor who's really good and you've gotten tons of offers, right? Why would you even want to rent it? Why don't you just sell it? Why don't you just go list it with a realtor? Okay? You want to be a truth seeker and a truth giver. So it's okay to sell the no. Do you see why I'm just asking questions? What's going to happen if you don't sell the house? Are you going to rent it? Ooh, that's a good one, isn't it? Well, you know what? I'm looking for an investment property that I can lease for a little while and then buy. You wouldn't be open to that, would you? How about this one? Like, what if, Mr. Seller, I took care of the property, I leased it from you, and I made the payments every month, and you wouldn't have to worry about vacancies or repairs. What would you want to do then? Oh, I'm giving you some gold nuggets. Aren't those good questions? Can you do that? Do you think you could do that? Yes. I think I have a 14-year-old son, and my 14-year-old son could do it. He'd be a little nervous at first, but he could do it. So I give the sellers multiple options, and I also have a credibility kit I'm going to show you in a minute. So I like to send sellers something in the email, and I give them multiple offers. I give them a cash offer. I give them a perfect tenant program, which is my sandwich lease option offer, and my lease option assignment offer. And I'll walk through that and show you that in a minute. But my software just does that for me. I just put in some numbers from Zillow. It spits that stuff out, and then it sends it. And this credibility kit that I have explains the program in super simple language, and it includes some frequently asked questions and references and stuff. And by the way, I send this to everyone. I don't care if they tell me to jump off a cliff. They'll never do a lease option. I'm still going to send them an offer. And all I need are numbers from Zillow. I need their address, their mailing address, and their email address, and I'll send them an offer, okay? Let me tell you about Kathy. Kathy's so cool. It's not a picture of her, but she had 3 kids, and she was a stay-at-home mom. Her husband worked a full-time job. They had a small little house, and they just needed to make some more money, so pay off some bills and some debts, and go take some vacations and whatnot. So she was trying to do real estate. She's trying to do some deals. The problem, her kids were always screaming and crying and playing and laughing and making noise and were loud, okay? All of her kids were not in school yet. And so she had a very hard time trying to do real estate because she could never talk to sellers. She could never talk to sellers. Well, guess what? Started working with her. And she started doing deals by email and texting, and that was it. Occasionally, maybe once in a while, she'd step outside to talk to a seller or something like that. But she did all of her deals just by emails and texting. You know what she did? Every week, every 2 weeks, she would go in and just randomly pick a new market in Craigslist and start sending emails and text messages. Guess what happened, guys? Started doing deals. And she'd go after the small markets, in Nebraska and South Dakota and Georgia and Arkansas and Oklahoma and Nevada, Washington. She'd go after the small markets that everybody else was ignoring, send emails, and would negotiate these deals and get them under contract by email and by texting, doing about 2 to 3 deals a month. Okay, so do you think you have any excuses anymore? No, I love that story. Let's talk about finding buyers. This is the really easy part. If you're not doing this right, you have to have a huge buyers list. You're working way too hard, driving around town all day, showing homes. Most people don't show up. You're getting flooded with buyer calls because this marketing works. But your seller marketing stops because no more leads are coming in because you're too busy selling your houses, right? And you turn around and your pipeline is full all of a sudden. You get desperate. You start selling. You start getting really bad tenants because you're just taking the first person that has enough money. But if you are doing this right, you're finding good tenant buyers in 3 to 4 weeks with 5 to 10 grand down who can afford the house and get a mortgage in 1 or 2 years and pay full price. You can just give your leasing agent a checklist and they do all the work for you. You have a nationwide mortgage broker that does all your loans, a tenant screening company that's handling all your tenant buyers. You have an attorney or an escrow company that's handling all the paperwork in all 50 states, right? So listen, the demand for these types of properties is huge, even in small towns. And remember, you don't need a buyer's list in advance, which is awesome. Remember what that guy, well, I'll read a story in here in a minute. Really, there's only 3 or 4 things you need to do to find buyers. And if you don't find a buyer in 3 to 4 weeks, then something is wrong. Number 1, Craigslist ads. Number 2, Zillow, if you can. You can't always. Number 3, are bandit signs. And I'll show you an example here of a bandit sign in just a minute. And Facebook. Facebook is huge right now. It's working really, really well. We're getting leads for super cheap. And sorry, I get distracted here. And here's an example Craigslist ad. I didn't include any pictures, but it's just real simple. Rent to own beautiful home. It asks for the option fee of $7,900, option period, 24 months, option price, etc. This is from a student named Bob who made $7,500 option deposit up front from this deal. This is a deal he actually wholesaled. This is a bandit sign that we like to use. It's a simple handwritten bandit sign, and this gets a lot of calls. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And this is our Facebook ad that we use. This works really, really well. All of these leads, we send them to our Investor Carrot website. They do a great job with just getting leads. And it's important you target these ads to the right people. And I teach that in my course. So yeah, this is the one I wanted to tell you about. This is Frank McGee. This guy's awesome. He says, Joe, I bought your course, implemented it, and I can't believe how the tenant buyers line up and are begging me to pick them for the houses I have under contract. And they have down payment. I have 5 in the pipeline that I'm working to get closed. Each time I post a deal on Facebook, I get multiple buyers in a day and several buyers left over for future deals. I have to mark it as sold on Facebook because it's difficult to have 30 conversations at one time. And I do literally mean 25 to 30 conversations with people that have the money to put down. This is so much easier than marking up a property for $5K and hoping to get lucky with a cash buyer that has $80,000 to spend. Thanks again, Joe. I will keep you posted. I'm telling you guys, these are the easiest deals. It's amazing. But I have some yeah butters out there. Okay, let me answer some of your objections. I know you're thinking, yeah, Joe, but I live in a hot, expensive market. This wouldn't work in my backyard. Well, it works everywhere, number one. But if you really don't think it will work in your market, guess what? You got 300 other cities that you can choose from in Craigslist to go do this in. You have to do it in your backyard. You may live in a small rural market, and that's okay. Small towns are great. And guess what? You have a lot of small towns around. If I had the time, I'd show you, like just in Iowa alone or just in Missouri or whatever, Wisconsin, you have a ton of markets there that have motivated landlords advertising their houses for rent that would love to sell their house right now. And a lot of motivated for sale by owners So just start with that. I heard you have to have a realtor's license to do lease options. It's not true. The way we do them, and I don't have time to talk about this right now, but we're looking for investment properties, okay? So we're buying these for sale by owner and we're selling them for sale by owner. You don't need a realtor's license to do that. You've heard that most lease options don't work out. Well, that's true if you do it like some of the gurus teach. I've heard them say things like, I hope the tenant buyer doesn't buy the house because then I can go find somebody else to do it that has another $5,000. Well, that's hogwash. They're not going to work if you don't do what I tell you to do. You've got to set these people up to win. You want to only put tenant buyers in your houses that have a realistic chance of getting a mortgage. And that's important. Now, why would a seller want to do a lease option when the prices are going up? Well, my answer to that is maybe they won't. And then that's fine, right? So I'm making an offer to everybody. I'm not going to spend more than a few minutes with the seller on the phone. If they don't want to do it, that's fine. I'm going to send them an offer anyway and follow up in a month or two. So there's just some sellers that don't want to do it. But let me tell you about this. Let's talk about it. Some of you think, man, sellers every day now, they all have equity. All you need to do is stick a sign in the yard and they can sell their house. Why would they want to do a lease option? I'm telling you, I've been through enough market cycles. I've been in a hot market, a falling market, a flat market, and a hot market again. And I've seen lease options in all of them, and they work. I got started in lease options when the market was really hot. So sellers have a lot going for them, don't they? Well, they do have a lot more options. They can sell their house on the MLS. They can discount their property if they want and sell it quickly to an investor. They can put some money into fixing it up and get that money back when they sell it. But you know what? What if life happens? And this happens a lot. Remember I told you before, this is important. There are more motivated sellers right now with a little to no equity than there are motivated sellers with lots of equity. There's job loss, job transfer, divorce. Maybe they're just sick of their house. They're tired of the double payments. They're tired of the tenants. They don't want to be a landlord anymore. They bought some late night infomercial course, spent $35,000 to go on a stupid bus tour, and they bought 5 properties and they hate life right now because they felt like they were hoodwinked and they hate these properties. Some of you I'm talking to right now, aren't I? I think so. I know a lot of you out there. But you know what? There's guys out there, life happens, and they don't want to be involved in that house anymore, but they don't want to sell it and lose all their money. They're tired of being a landlord, but they just don't want to give away their equity, right? So they don't have as many options as you might think. By the way, if you think these sellers, like all you need to do is stick a sign in the yard, you can sell these houses really quickly. If we had the time right now, I'd take you to Denver, I'd take you to Nashville, I'd take you to LA, I'd take you to San Francisco, and look, I can show you homes in the hundreds that have been on the market for over 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. There are still a lot of markets, a lot of houses in these markets that are sitting, not doing anything. And there's still expired listings in some of these markets too. Okay, no one's helping these guys. All your competition is ignoring them. No one is sending them any mail. And by the way, like I showed you before, it's an easy list to get. Okay, you can actually make offers that help them and benefit them. Prices are going up. I talked about this, right? But according to CoreLogic, 5% of all homeowners in the United States still have negative equity. And almost 15% of all homeowners in the US have little to no equity. That's equity of 10% or less. Or maybe 15% or less, I think is what it is. That's a lot. That's millions and millions of homeowners. Really, right now, guys, we're just in a normal market. But prices are going up, right? The rate of these housing prices increases are not sustainable. House prices are increasing twice as fast as income growth. That can't go on forever. This spells trouble. You really, really need to be ready for it, okay? You need to know what to do when the market changes or crashes, and it will. Prices will not be doing this forever. Mortgage rates are at a 4-year high, and guess what? They're only going up. They're not going down again. House flipping has hit a 10-year high. There's more competition now for deals than ever. But guess what? Returns are getting smaller across the board. I talk to so many rehabbers that are getting frustrated. So listen, this is overwhelming to you. You're thinking, man, what do I do? This is a lot of work, or I don't know what. Here, I'm going to help you. Would you like a software that does this stuff for you? I'm going to show you. I'm really excited about this. Podio Lease Options. simplified here, and I'm going to demo it in a minute. But this is software that takes care of 90% of this stuff. Free Craigslist scraping and seller leads. I'm going to show you how it gets Craigslist leads for you, and I'm going to show you how it calculates and emails offers with a few clicks. And all you need to do at first is send text and emails to sellers, and you can send them offers, right, without ever talking to sellers. Now, let me show this. I'm so excited about it, and I've been working super hard on getting this up and running. This is built on Podio. I'm calling it Podio Simplified. And listen, guys, I intentionally made this simple. There's not a lot of workflows going on in the background. I have these really just three or four core apps: Craigslist leads, sellers, contracts, and maybe buyers. You don't have to use the buyers one if you don't want. And each app only has a few fields in it. So the way I've set this up, real quick, I'm going to run through this because I don't have much time, but this is where you're going to put your own information about yourself and your company. This is the stuff that goes on the letterhead, okay? And then this is where the Craigslist leads come. So we have a software that goes out and scrapes Craigslist leads, and we put them in here. And we put this information from Craigslist. The title, which gives you all the information about the property, the link to the property itself, the price comes over, the phone number, the email comes over, and some different information. And from here, guys, right from in here, you can send the seller an email and receive an email and send them a text right from in here. So let me show you here in the comments. I was testing this earlier. Seller a text. Well, this was me in this case. And I sent myself an email, right? Well, guess what? The text said, hey, I saw your house on Craigslist. You wouldn't be open to renting it for a year and then selling it, would you? And then the email said, same thing. And the email came back, yes, maybe, tell me more, Jeff. So you can have those conversations right here in the software. And guess what? All you need to do is click some buttons. Or you could have a VA send these text messages for you and look for any responses. So let's say a seller says, yeah, you know what? I'm interested, maybe, tell me more. So you're going to convert this to a seller lead. And when you click yes now, it'll create a seller lead in the sellers app. All right. And this is where you track the stage and the motivation, phone number. That brings this stuff over. Brings over Street View, and you put in the mailing address, and it gives you a Zillow link of the property. And let's say, you know what? They say, I'm interested, maybe, I don't know. Send me an offer or something like that. So you're going to send them something simple, and then set yourself a reminder to follow up. But it's so easy right here with this initial offer thing. You put in the estimated rent. This is what your VA can do. So this could be like the Zillow estimated rent, or it could be just the, if it's listed right now for $1,500 a month in rent, that's what you put in there. And you find out the seller wants to sell it for $175, and then you get 3 comps from like Zillow or RealQuest or ePraisal or Redfin or something like that. And you just put them in here, and the system will calculate an average and give you some offers. One of my offers is a cash offer, so I put a wholesaling fee of $7,500. It's about 2,100 square feet from Zillow, and I'm going to figure $5 a square foot. You can see there on this thing here. General rule of thumb: if the seller says it doesn't need any repairs, but you don't see any pictures, I'll do $5 a square foot. If you can tell by the pictures it needs like paint and carpet, you might want to do $10 a square foot. And if it's a full gut rehab or it needs a lot of work, just do $20 a square foot. You don't have to overanalyze this. Just pick one. 0 if you can tell from the pictures it doesn't need any work. 5, 10, or 20. All right, you put that in. Oops, I clicked out. And then you click here. Oh, what happened here? I'm sorry. Hold on. I got in the wrong spot. You put in those numbers, and you click yes, create a 3-option letter of intent, and I'll show you what it looks like right here. Oh, I have it right here. This is the contract here. Hold on one second as I get it open. Okay, so here it's going to create a letter of intent, multiple options. It's got the address and stuff in here, and it fills out. It gives you a cash offer. It gives you the sandwich lease option offer and the lease option assignment offer. You can see how the price is stepped up: 107, 152, 175. And I won't go into all the details, but this is what you just send to the seller. And then this is the really cool part. The next few pages gives a written description of kind of what is a lease option, why it's becoming a top choice alternative. the summary of the benefits, frequently asked questions that a lot of these people ask. You can send this to them, okay? And if you want, down below, my developer can help you with this. You can add a list of references. So it'll put references in there of, if you want to use my attorney or escrow company or mortgage broker or credit repair company, maybe you have a realtor or property managers that you use or investors that you know, you can put all that information in there. It attaches it right here. And guess what? From right here, you could actually email it to the seller. You type in your email subject line there, and you type in the body of the email here, what you want, and you click send, and it'll send your email and this attachment to the seller, okay? I'm just going to show you one more thing. Oh yeah, here, notes. Let's say you're talking to the seller and that you want a place where you have notes. Well, before on Podio, we used to have a list of like 20 or 30 questions. Like, is the house vacant? How many bedrooms? How many baths? Is it listed? What's the MLS number? What's the mortgage payment? Blah, blah, blah. And it just overwhelming. Podio with so much data in there and all these fields, it was completely overwhelming. But here, this is where you just put your notes, house is vacant, expired, seller lives in Florida. You can put all your notes in here, right? And it saves it. You don't have to have 30 fields in here. So you send the thing and you create a task, maybe to follow up. You assign it to your VA yourself. And you do a due date of today and you click create task and boom. Okay? That task is there, and now nothing falls through the cracks. Now, let's say the seller contacts you back and says, you know what, yeah, let's do it. You want to convert this to a contract? All you need to do is click yes now, and it brings it over into the contracts. And I've already done that here. Let's open it up. If I go to contracts, it's going to bring all that information over into the contracts and take me right here. And it links to the seller. It'll link to a buyer if I had one here. And then this is where I'm going to create the short offer form. And all I do is fill out this information here. And this is the main contract. I teach this in my course. And it creates a contract right here. And it looks like this. This is just the initial contract you need to get it under contract. Okay? It fills in all the blanks, and you just email that to the seller. Really simple and cool. The thing that I love about this so much is every day I come in, and behind the scenes, our software is scraping Craigslist, and I have a VA that's coming in and putting the leads in here. And by the way, let me tell you too, these leads will be flagged as duplicates. So if this lead has been imported in before with the same phone number, it'll be flagged as a duplicate, so you know not to send them another text. That makes sense? All right, let's get back to the presentation. I'm almost done. These are questions you need to be asking yourself. How hard do I really want to work to get $1 million in equity and 10K in cash flow? How much risk am I willing to take to get that kind of cash flow and to build that kind of portfolio, right? Hold on one second here. Who are the sellers in the neighborhoods that I need to target? What kind of marketing are you going to send them? How do I know I'm going to be making the right offers? How do I know I'm going to be doing these deals the right way? I don't want to make a mistake. What should I be focusing on every day? Do I know the right systems to use and implement? These are all very, very important questions, and I want to help you answer all of your questions by giving you a free one-on-one personal coaching call with either myself or with my business partner, Gavin. I was talking about him before. Maybe you have some personal, unique questions, right? Or you just want someone to review your market selection or marketing plan. We're going to give you, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can get a free one-on-one personal coaching call with us, okay? We really do want to help you. So right now, you're at a computer, you're watching this webinar, right? You've heard how this stuff works, and you know that lease options are a great way to make cash now, cash flow, and cash later. I love this system because, again, your VAs can make these offers for you. Your 9-year-old kid can send a text for you. As long as they know how to copy and paste, right? Your VA in the Philippines can put in numbers from Zillow into this Podio setup and offers for you. So if you're someone that wants to earn $1 million in equity and $10,000 in monthly cash flow in 3 years or less, just doing one lease option deal a month, without working so hard, without losing your nights and weekends, without a lot of overhead and expensive marketing. You might be wondering how you can learn and implement all the tactics and strategies I just showed you quickly and easily, right? Well, the fastest way to get started is through a simple lease option case study that I created for you, and I'm going to share this with you right now. I'm super excited about it because this is something that I've been working on a long time. So here's how we will do it, okay? I've created a 6-week case study program. This is 6 weeks live, where I'm going to be literally breaking down the complete 1 million 10K cash flow in 3-year system and walk you through how to install it in your own business step by step. We're just working together for a day. I'm just not going to throw you at a whole course. We're going to be working together for a whole 2 to 3 months. And I'm not going to send you a course, just do a couple calls. We're going to be working very closely together over the course of the next 3 months. And there's a lot involved. It's not for everybody. And it starts next week. All right. So week 1, we're going to be talking about an overview of how lease options work. My main goal is to get this entire program, keep it super simple so you can actually get out there and start making offers in the first week using the free leads I give you. Second week, we're going to be talking about your marketing plan. I'm going to show you the fastest, easiest, cheapest ways to find motivated sellers, the best ones in any market in the United States. And I'm talking about marketing that's not old and outdated, expensive and saturated, but simple marketing that your 9-year-old should be able to do for you using my software and Craigslist scraping ninjas that I have. Third week, we're going to learn how easy it is to talk to sellers and get amazing deals just by asking simple questions. You're going to be in the driver's seat, controlling the conversations, right? You're not going to worry about what to say or how to say it. You're going to learn how to make simple offers and fast just using Zillow. So my Podio Simplified software can create these for you and send the detailed credibility kits for you as well. You're going to learn because you followed my advice and are only looking for nice homes in nice areas, right? How to sell, how easy it is to sell these properties fast and get really good quality buyers. You're not going to have to worry about how to pre-screen the tenant buyers. My mortgage broker can do that for you. You're going to have all the right tools, resources, checklists, and team at your fingertips during this case study. The 5th week, you're going to be surprised at how simple and easy my lease option contracts are. And this week, we're going to just dive deep into the contracts. These contracts are super easy. They're easy to explain to sellers. My software can fill them out and send the initial contracts for you. And by the way, if you have your own lease contracts that you want to use, you can give them to my Podio developer guy, and he'll put them into your Podio setup for you. You might have to pay him a little bit extra for it, but he can set that all up for you. The 6th week, we're going to be talking about the important tools and systems you need to run this business efficiently, with or without your own involvement, right? You aren't going to be overwhelmed with fancy tech gibberish. You'll find that you can do all these deals with a pen and pad of paper if you wanted to, right? You don't have to use my lease option software. I've simplified my lease option software in Podio as much as I could, but you don't have to use that. You can use a pad of paper and pen if you want. So if you don't want to use them, we can train your team or VAs on how to use them as well. You can just have your VAs and team go through my system. Now, just recently, like literally a few hours ago, I decided to add 2 bonus weeks, which I'm excited about. Because what if you don't want to or can't do lease options? Well, I'm going to do a special training on subject twos or contract for deeds. This is kind of like, there's a lot of different ways you could call this: land contracts, owner financing, contract for deeds, subject twos. And we're going to be talking about it. And this might be important for some of you guys in states like Texas, maybe in states like Michigan. It's more common to do land contracts than lease options or whatever. You might have some deals that have a lot of equity in them and some distress, like they're facing foreclosure or they need a ton of work. And you want to not do a lease option. You want to get more control over them. Maybe you want to do a subject to. We're going to be talking about that. And the 8th week, I'm super excited about this. A lot of people have been asking me. We've been flipping land, and I've been using options and seller financing on our land deals. And so we're going to be talking about how to use these strategies to flip vacant land. I'm going to show you our entire setup, the tools that we use. And it's important to start thinking about multiple streams of income, because you can make a lot of money flipping vacant land using these same principles. And we're just going to show you how we're doing that. So my goal, again, is to help you find these fantastic lease option opportunities that can cash flow and pay you for years and years to come. So these next couple of months, we'll be working closely as a small group, personally with me, and I only want to work with a handful of people who can implement, test, and report back on their results. And I'm going to use your business as case studies to apply these strategies. This is the first time I've done this case study, And I'm excited about this because hopefully get some case studies out of this, and I'm going to turn this into a program that I'm going to sell later on. But I'm ready to get started right away, and I'm inviting you to join this case study team. Now, here is how it'll work. Each week, we're going to focus on one of the core components of these strategies. We'll get together as a group to talk about it and brainstorm specific strategies for your business, and you can put it in action and report on your results. So it's 8 weeks. Videos are going to be released on Tuesdays, and I'm doing this in chunks because I don't want you to be overwhelmed. You know, it's you can look at this map, you can look at this mountain of Mount Everest, for example, right? And you buy this course, and they give you all the boots, all the camping gear, all of the maps that you could need, and you're like completely overwhelmed. But what if we just broke it up into milestones, and you just implemented them a little bit at a time? So we'll release a video on Tuesday. You watch the videos, implement it a little bit, and then if you have any questions, we'll get together on Thursday to cover that and review it. So you can just implement it quickly, but not like overwhelmed. We're going to do group coaching calls on Thursdays. I'm going to give you a private Facebook group. We just set it up where you can get all your questions answered and share your success. By the way, on the group coaching calls, if you can't make them, that's okay. There's going to be a place on the membership site where you can submit your questions in advance, and we record all of the calls so you can make sure your question gets answered. So you may say, Joe, I'm interested already. What's the price? We'll get there. But first, let me tell you something. Last time I did something similar to this, it was a deal coaching challenge that I did where we were doing wholesaling, automated wholesaling. I sold it for $2,500 and I sold it out. Now I believe this class is equally valuable, if not more. My group coaching costs $5,000 and $197 a month. My one-on-one coaching costs $25,000. Now, if you were to develop your own software like this, it's going to cost you at least $3-4 grand at a minimum. That's really low, actually. But if you were to take the time to find and train your VAs to do all this Craigslist marketing and scraping for you, that's going to take you at least 40 plus hours, over $1,000 to do that. If you were to go out and buy some courses on lease options, you're going to spend thousands of bucks, and you would get no coaching or handholding. You could go to these huge coaching companies, right, and spend 15 to 35 grand to get an inferior program, to get somebody in a call center in Utah with a notebook that has answers to all of the potential questions you could be asking, is getting paid 20 bucks an hour, okay? Or you could get somebody who has experience and does these deals and who will partner with you on them, right? None of these companies can give you the experience that I have on lease options. So this is way more affordable and valuable. And then now naturally, if you implement everything I've shared with you, you're going to see amazing results in your business. And that's why you should invest in this lease option case study right now. The cost, it's $1,500 or 3 payments of $500. And you can get access right now at leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. But you need to hurry. Let me tell you why. Classes start next Monday, March 27th. So we are shutting the doors March 26th at midnight. Now I'm going to give you some free bonuses if you act now. Number one, I'm going to give you Lease Purchase Wealth book. Some of you are saying, you know what, I want to get started now, but I don't want to wait until the first module starts, or I don't want to wait till all the modules are complete to get everything. That's fine. I'm going to give you the main book right now that you can get. This is the book that got me started, and it's an amazing book. I bought the rights to it, and it's called Lease Purchase Wealth, and you get access to it, and it has contracts and everything in it. It's a really, really good book, and you can start going through it immediately before the class actually starts, and you can start making offers the very first week. This is a $9.97 value. It's not even available for sale anymore, but you can get it only here. Bonus 2, I talked about this before. You get a one-on-one coaching call with myself or with Gavin. If you need some personal help, you may say, I need some personal help. Don't throw me into a large group to figure it all out by myself. Maybe you can't make some of the group coaching calls. Maybe you have some personal, unique questions, or you just want someone to review your marketing plan, etc. So after you go through the first couple modules, you can schedule a personal one-on-one coaching call with either myself or Gavin. And this is easily a $1,000 value. I'm also going to give you an easy outsourcing one-on-one class. This is a class I did that talked about outsourcing, how to find, hire, and train virtual assistants. You may be saying, I'm getting so many leads. How am I going to handle all of this stuff, right? How am I going to do all the follow-up? It's overwhelming. How can I find a VA to really help me without being completely overwhelmed and stressed? So we did a class on how to find, hire, and train a virtual assistants. And in this class, we give you resources and tools that you can even just give to your VAs, and we'll train them for you. We also give you the contact information in this of the VAs that we use. This is pretty exciting. We have a company, I've been working with them for 5 years plus. And we'll give you their contact information. If you want to hire your own VA, they already understand our tools and systems, and you can just hire them. They charge about $3 to $5 an hour. They know our systems. That's $1,000 value easily. So again, leaseoptioncasestudy.com, leaseoptioncasestudy.com, but it gets even better. I'm going to give you the Podio simplified lease options software. You may say, Joe, I need your software. I need to make this easy for me, and it can't be complicated. I bought complicated software before, and it didn't work. For lease options, you can send and receive texts and emails. You can create and send lease option offers with Credibility Kit. You can create simple one-page lease option contracts. This is easily a $3,000 value. You get it for free. It's free for 2 months, but let me tell you, you do have to get Podio Premium if you want to continue using it. It's only $24 a month. Now, you don't have to. You could use the free version of Podio, which is free. But if you want to continue using texting features inside of there, it's about $10 to $15 a month, depending on which plan you get, for the phone number and for the texts. Okay, so I'm basically covering the cost for you for those things the first couple months. But here's the really valuable thing here. I'm going to give you the contact information of my Rockstar Podio GlobiFlow Ninja that can customize and set all of this stuff up for you. This guy is amazing, and I'm going to give you his info. And so if you ever, if you want to do customization, or if you want to use your own contract, or if you want, for whatever, like he knows everything inside and out, Podio and GlobiFlow, and you pay him a little bit of money. It might be $25, $50. If you have a really big job, it might be $100, but he will customize and build it out for you. This guy is really cool. Other cool thing, bonus number 5, I'm going to give you my free Craigslist scraping stuff. So it's a huge time suck if you try to do it yourself. Getting around CAPTCHAs is extremely difficult. And then trying to find, hire, and train a VA to scrape Craigslist for you, you don't have time for that. So we have a software that VAs that scrape Craigslist for you. They will put the leads in Podio for you. We're going to cover the costs for 2 months for this. That's $1,000 value. By the way, if you want to do that yourself, once you start doing it yourself, I don't know the cost right now off the top of my head, but it would be like $25 to $50 a month. So it's like crazy cheap. It's ridiculous. You can hire a full-time VA to do it, and it's going to be over $500 a month to do it for you. And depending on the plan that you get and how many credits you buy, it could be as cheap as 3 or 4 cents per Craigslist phone number scrape. Okay. Now, if some of you've seen me promote, or you might have Sean Terry's RVM lead machine tool. You can export these leads into Sean's systems. It's super powerful. After the 2 months, we'll give you the software company that can scrape Craigslist for you. Now, warning, listen, this Podio Simplified Lease Options Craigslist marketing stuff is only going to be available for the first 50 people on this webinar. There's a lot of expense and time involved with us setting it up. So we're only giving it to the first 50 people in this class, in this webinar. And so you need to sign up now. Basically, bottom line, here's the thing. I can't make this really big because we're spending so much one-on-one time with folks. I don't want to be on the group coaching call for 5 hours, right? I don't want to have my days filled day in and day out with one-on-one coaching calls. So we're limiting this to a certain small number of people. But you know what? leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. If that wasn't enough, I've got even more bonuses. You can partner with me on your deals, and this is how you can get your money back. What if this works, you might say, right? Well, what if I actually get a seller that says yes? What am I going to do then? Well, we'll partner with you on the deal. You'll get the $1,500 back, and we'll split the deal. We'll split the profits after that. Don't worry about making mistakes, not knowing what to do. What I mean by this, let me explain this. So if, let's say your initial front-end profit on the deal, your cash now is $5,000, okay? You're going to get the $1,500 back right away off of that. And any other profits remaining from that money will split 50-50. And if you want to continue partnering on the lease option, sandwich lease option deal, we'll partner 50-50 on the cash flow as well. But you're going to get your initial $1,500 investment back, and we'll split any remaining profits after that. So don't worry about making mistakes, not knowing what to do. This is really why I'm doing the case study, is to partner with more and more students on deals. Bonus number 7, you're going to get access to my team. You may say, how am I going to find an attorney in my state to handle all the paperwork and an escrow company that will handle the money? Guess what? You can use my attorney, you can use my escrow company, or we'll just put the contract in my name if you want, and we'll JV on the deal. If it's a good enough deal, here's the cool thing about this, guys. If it's not a good deal, I'm not going to want to partner with you on it, which means you shouldn't be doing it yourself. Okay? So you're going to have me, I'm willing to put my name on the line for one of these deals. You better believe it's going to be a good deal. So this is going to help you save yourself a lot of hassle and problems. And if you don't want to put it in your name, we'll put it in my company name, and we'll have a JV agreement on the side for that deal. I do deals in all 50 states. You may say, man, how am I going to find a local mortgage broker that understands lease options, who will help me qualify someone who's interested in one of my houses? Well, I have a tenant buyer screening company and a mortgage broker and a credit repair company that does this in all 50 states. They're amazing. That's worth a lot. But it gets even better. Are you kidding me? I'm going to also throw in one more bonus. Okay, this is an advanced sales training class. I know it's easy to find sellers with Joe's marketing system, but I don't know what to say to sellers. I'm horrible on the phone. I need practice. I need to hear live seller calls. We are doing a 4-week live talk to sellers training. We're actually on these 4 weeks. We're going to be calling sellers live on these calls. You can listen in and learn. Gavin, my business partner, is helping me with this. I'm super excited about this. We're going to be calling sellers live. We're going to be practicing role playing. You may have a seller that you talked to that brought up a question or an objection you didn't know how to answer. Or we're going to practice with you on those. And we're going to actually be calling real live sellers on that. So this is incredibly valuable. I'm super excited about this. So if you want this, again, go to leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. It's $1,500 or 3 payments of $500. But it still gets better, right? I'm going to give you a best ever guarantee, 30 days or less, right? You're protected by the best guarantee ever. If by the end of the 30 days you decide this is not for you, no questions asked, I'll give you a refund. I don't have any weasel clauses, no shenanigans here. If you feel like, and I call this sometimes my spousal guarantee, right? If you're worried about what your spouse is going to say, you know what? Not a big deal. Get your money back. I have a 12-month guarantee. You're protected by the best guarantee ever. So if by the end of the 12 months, you've gone through the course, you can show that you've been doing the marketing, you've been making offers, and you've not made your investment in the course back, I'll refund you the entire $1,500, and you can still keep the course. That's how much I believe in the system. But you've got to prove to me that you've tried, right? You need to go through the modules. You need to prove to me that you've gone through the course. You need to show me that you've actually been doing the marketing. You've actually been talking to sellers. You've actually been making offers. And if you don't make your $1,500 investment back, let me know, and I'll refund your money. Because if you're making offers, there's no way you can not do deals. It's just that simple. Unless you're making like really ridiculous offers, but just do what I teach. It'll work. Again, leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. You need to hurry, right? Because the classes start next Monday, the 27th, and I'm shutting the doors March 26th at midnight. That's just a few days from now. And the lease option Craigslist marketing stuff, it's only going to be available for the first 50 people on this webinar. And we've already sold about 30 something. Looking at my my numbers here real quick, about 30 of them, okay? So you need to get on this. Let me review real quick. leaseoptioncasestudy.com/go. You're going to get a 6 to 8 week case study. It's actually 8 weeks. Starts March 27th. Videos are on Tuesdays. Coaching calls on Thursdays. Private Facebook group, one-on-one private call. I'm going to be working closely with you on this, okay? Free bonuses. Podio Simplified Lease Option Software. It's free for 2 months. Craigslist Scraping will do your marketing. Craigslist Scraping for you for 2 months. You get the Lease Purchase Wealth book. Easy Outsourcing one-on-one class. By the way, remember that Lease Purchase Wealth book, you can get started going right now in the first week making offers. And it covers everything A to Z. The Easy Outsourcing one-on-one class is going to teach you how to find, hire, and train VAs. We're going to actually give you the VA company that we use, and we're going to give you the training that you can use to just send to your VAs and let us train them for you. We're going to give you advanced sales training, 4 weeks of live seller calls, which is awesome. You get to partner with me on deals, and you get your investment in the course back if you want to partner with me on a deal. I'll give you the $1,500 back right off the top, and then we'll split whatever profit is remaining after that 50/50, and you get me partnering with you on the deal. Okay, and you get full access to my team, my attorney, escrow company, mortgage broker, credit repair company, tenant screening. I'm excited about this, aren't you? LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. $1,500 or 3 payments of $500. Okay. Let PayPal pay for it. What? This is cool. Test it for 6 months. Let PayPal pay for it. PayPal has this program where you can test drive it, and they have 6 months, no payments. You go through the whole training, implement it, and you should be able to do one deal, right? And make $5,000 before you even have to pay anything. So no payments, no interest if you pay it in full in 6 months. So when you're on the checkout page at LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go, just click that PayPal button, and if you apply, I mean, if you're approved, then you can use the PayPal credit. And some of the buttons look like this depending on what you're doing. But LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com. Now the PayPal payments does not work, like the pre-approved financing, whatever, does not work for the $500 a month payment plan. Does that make sense? It'll only finance the initial $1,500 up front. Hope that makes sense. LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. All right. The doors are going to close on Monday, March 26th. Only the first 50 on this webinar get the Craigslist leads. So I don't know how to stress it enough. We're going to fill this up. We're going to close the doors. So do you want to be a member? Do you want to be in it or not? First time I've ever done this class on the lease option case study for sandwich lease options. And I honestly don't know if I'm going to do it again. But if I do it again, the price will double. Price is going to go up. $1,500 is way too cheap. I know that. I'm just doing this for the first time to get out there. It's already filling up fast. Right now, availability is really low, and I cannot take everyone in who wants in. That's not some kind of false scarcity play. It's the truth. So you need to lock this up before it's too late. I have thousands watching this webinar, and the replays, it's going to fill up. Go to LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. All right. Here's what will happen next. If you are going to do this, we're going to send you to a membership site. You'll have all the information you need to get started right there. We'll have a schedule of the coaching calls up there. You're going to get a fast start guide right away. You can go through it. You're going to get some instructions on the information we need for our developers to start customizing your software. We're going to give you some information on the Craigslist marketing for leads. We'll need that from you so we can start scraping Craigslist for you. Oh, I forgot to mention. Well, never mind. You're going to get a welcome email. You'll get some our support team contact information if you have any questions. You're also going to get the contact information of our Podio developer guy. And if you want your own personal customizations, this guy's amazing. He's a ninja, and he's very, very affordable. You can do it for you. Cool. So here's a review again. It's work closely with me for 8 weeks. Classes start next week. Videos on Tuesdays, coaching calls on Thursdays. Private Facebook group, one-on-one coaching call with me that you can schedule anytime. You get our Podio simplified lease options software. You get Craigslist scraping. You get the lease purchase wealth book. That'll tell you how to do deals from beginning to end. It's awesome. You get the Easy Outsourcing 101 class where we teach you how to find, hire, and train virtual assistants. We give you the virtual assistants that we use that you can hire, and we also give you the training that you can give to them if you want. We have an advanced sales training class for 4 weeks where we're going to call sellers live and talk to them. If you want your money back in this, you want to partner with me on a deal, you can partner with me. We'll get on the phone. I'll partner with you on the deal, show you what you need to do next, and we'll split the profits. And you get access to my team. The attorney I use to flip my lease options, his escrow company, the mortgage broker I use, credit repair company, and tenant screening company. And they do this in all 50 states. Cool. Do you have any questions about that? Let me know. I got a jet right now because I'm late for something. But if you have some questions, just send an email to support@joemccall.com. Support@joemccall.com. Okay. And go to LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. Let me look real quickly to see if there's any typed questions in here. Is it realistic for a tenant to lease option for 3 years and a seller for 5 years? Yes. What type of agreement do you have with the tenant buyer? I give them a lease and a separate option agreement. How do you prepare for the marketing for the coming market correction? That's why I love lease options. because if it corrects and goes down, it doesn't matter. It's just a lease option deal. I can walk away from these if I have to, and it's not going to affect me. So if the property doesn't appraise at the end of the tenant buyer's terms, and if they want to buy the house, well, if it doesn't appraise, then that's a good thing for the tenant buyer. They don't have to buy it because the values have fallen, right? So if they would have bought it 2 years ago, do you think the bank is going to care? Do you think the bank's going to give them their money back? No, it's a good thing they did a lease option because they don't have to buy it. Now you can always negotiate a new lower price if you want, or just extend it. The insurance is handled really, really simply. The owner of the property has to get landlord insurance. They just change their policy if they haven't already to a landlord policy, and usually the tenant gets renter's insurance. Yes, that's it. How do you show a distant property? I usually get the owner to do it, or I get a local real estate agent to do it, or I just put some ads in Craigslist and find some boots on the ground person. If they can't get a mortgage, what are the odds of them having money? I don't know, but if they can't get a mortgage, I'm only taking people who have good reasons for bad credit. So if they have a bankruptcy 6 months ago, it's probably not going to work. If they have $300,000 in unpaid child support, it's probably not going to work. If they have a bunch of late bills in the last few months of like cell phone and cable and utilities and stuff like that, it's not going to work. So I'm only taking people who have a realistic chance of getting a mortgage, who have good odds of getting a mortgage in 1 or 2 years. And if you got a nice house, that's easy to find people with a lot of money, trust me. How do you create credibility? Well, you partner with me on deals and you use my credibility kit. So the Podio Simplified gives sellers 3 different options: cash offer, sandwich lease option offer, and lease option assignment. I generally start with I try to get for 3 to 5 years with the seller. Yes, Jonas, I have a software that scrapes, but I have the VA that manually puts it into Podio. Okay, somebody's asking about Podio Joe. This is completely different from Podio Joe. George, the answer is no, but send an email to support@joemccall.com and we'll work something out. Jonas, I'm sorry. Why don't you do this? Send an email to support@joemccall.com. Support@joemccall.com. Let them know you're having that problem, and we'll definitely help you. I apologize about that. I'm not sure what's going on. So the wholesaling lease options course that you guys just bought, that is how to flip lease options for fast cash. This is for longer term equity and cash flow. But some of you are asking questions because you just bought my wholesaling lease options course. So normally I don't give any discounts for this because it is completely separate. It's all brand new. But send an email to support@joemccall and I don't know, maybe I'll try to help you something. No, we don't use transactional funding. You could if you wanted to. So it just depends on the deal. Yes, Zach, there are some monthly costs for Podio after the free period. And I talked about that before. It's $50 maybe. I have a company, Gary, that meets with the tenant buyers and educates them. Yep, and I give that away in the course, in the case study. Yes, you can certainly do larger down payments from tenant buyers. It all depends on how nice the house is. Oh, good. Some of you got the receipt in the email. Nice. Awesome. How do you handle the 90 to 120-day seasoning title required by lenders? That's easy, and I cover that in the course. There's different ways you can do that. Number one, you can just get paid through a what's called a revocation of option. So your option's recorded in the county. But you need to talk to your title company that you're going to use and ask them what the best way that they suggest to do it. So you could record an option and get submit an invoice and get paid on the HUD to remove that option because it's clouding the title. That's probably the easiest, most common way to do it. You might have to take the property over subject to for 3 months, or you might have to use transactional funding. So there's different ways to do it. I cover that in the course. Yes, this program is focused 100% on sandwich lease options. Yes, Zach, there is. There's extra. If you want to continue using Podio, You got to use Podio Premium, which is $24 a month. If you want to send text messages and use a local phone number, that's going to cost you anywhere from $5 to $50 a month, depending on how many text messages you're sending. So Stephanie, we close the doors on Monday night at midnight. All right, guys, I got to go. LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. LeaseOptionCaseStudy.com/go. I appreciate you all very much. We'll see you. Bye-bye.